You know what's crazy about modern relationships? Everyone talks about empowerment and following your heart, but the second you make unconventional choices, suddenly you're labeled as problematic. I'm Sarah, I'm 31, and apparently I'm now what society calls tainted. But let me tell you the real story about how prioritizing passion over stability became my biggest regret. 2 years ago, I was married to David. 7 years together, married for 4. He was everything a woman is supposed to want. Stable job in finance, owned our house, talked about retirement plans constantly. David was the type of man who scheduled romance like a business meeting and thought grocery store flowers once a month counted as thoughtful. I worked part-time at a marketing firm while David insisted someone needed to maintain the home properly, which meant I handled all cooking, cleaning, and social coordination while he provided financially and acted like that made us equal. Our conversations revolved around to-do lists, his work complaints, and household maintenance. When was the last time he asked about my dreams? What made me feel alive? The emotional distance was overwhelming. I'd watch other couples having animated conversations while David stared at his phone across from me. I'd see friends posting about romantic surprises while David's idea of spontaneity was ordering takeout. I started questioning if this hollow routine was really my entire future. That's when I met Marcus at a work conference. He wasn't conventionally attractive, but there was something compelling about his confidence. While other men tried impressing me with credentials, Marcus actually engaged when I spoke. He asked meaningful questions. He remembered details from previous conversations. Marcus was direct in a way that captivated me. He told me exactly what he found appealing, exactly what he wanted, exactly how he felt. After years of David's emotional withdrawal, having someone be so straightforward was intoxicating. Most women can't handle real passion, he told me early on. They say they want excitement, but when it requires genuine commitment and availability, they back down. You seem different, though. And I wanted to be different. I was tired of being predictable Sarah who meal prepped Sundays and followed the same routine weekly. Marcus made me feel like I was finally living instead of just existing. The demands started small. Quick coffee between meetings, lunch dates when David was at work. But gradually, Marcus expected more flexibility. He'd text wanting to meet immediately. If I hesitated or mentioned other commitments, he'd grow distant until I proved my priorities by dropping everything. Real connection requires sacrifice, he'd explain when I worried about increasing demands. Anyone can love someone when it's convenient, but showing up when it's difficult, that separates genuine relationships from superficial ones. I found myself constantly rearranging my schedule around Marcus's availability, canceling plans with friends because he suddenly had free time, lying to David about where I was going, creating elaborate cover stories for why I needed errands at specific times. The rush of secrecy was addictive. Living this double life made every ordinary moment feel charged with possibility. Walking through stores while texting Marcus, sitting next to David while planning when I could next see my affair partner. I felt like I was starring in my own thrilling movie. David remained completely oblivious. He'd ask generic questions about my day and accept whatever vague responses I gave. His lack of curiosity made maintaining deception almost effortless. Marcus became increasingly possessive of my time and attention. He wanted proof I was prioritizing our relationship over my marriage. Photos sent at specific times, immediate responses to messages regardless of what else I was doing. Availability whenever his schedule freed up, even if it meant disappointing others. "Your husband gets you every night," Marcus would say when I expressed concerns. "Is it really too much to ask that when I need you, you're there?" The most intense period lasted 6 months. I was essentially living for Marcus's messages, structuring my entire day around when he might want to see me. David's predictable schedule made this easier. I knew exactly when I'd be expected home. But constant deception was exhausting, keeping track of lies, managing 2 different versions of myself, always being alert for discoveries. I started making careless mistakes, forgetting to delete messages, coming home with unexplained receipts. The discovery happened on a Thursday morning. David came home early with a migraine and found me on a video call with Marcus. Not a work call, obviously an intimate conversation with someone who clearly wasn't just a colleague. David's reaction wasn't dramatic anger. He just looked tired, disappointed but not surprised, like he'd been expecting this eventually. "How long?" he asked simply. When I tried minimizing it, claiming friendship, David showed me bank statements, restaurant charges I'd claimed were work lunches, hotel parking fees when I'd said I was shopping, a timeline of deception in black and white. The divorce was swift and businesslike. David wasn't vindictive, just done. He kept the house, I got half our savings. No drama, just two people dissolving a partnership that had clearly ended. But here's what blindsided me. Once David was gone and I was free to be with Marcus full-time, suddenly Marcus wasn't interested. The thrill had been the secrecy, the competition, the challenge of stealing someone's wife. Once I was actually available without complications, I became significantly less appealing. "I thought you understood this was about excitement," he told me when I asked about making things official. "The whole point was that it was forbidden. Now it's just ordinary." Marcus disappeared from my life, blocked my number, stopped responding, moved on to his next conquest. 8 months of rearranging my existence around this man, and he discarded me the moment I became genuinely available. Now I'm 31, divorced, and discovering that dating as a woman who destroyed her marriage for an affair is its own nightmare. Men either see me as easy prey or as a cautionary tale about women who can't be trusted. The few relationships I've attempted end the same way. Once guys learn why my marriage ended, everything changes. They assume I'll cheat again or treat me like I should be grateful for any attention since I'm damaged goods. Meanwhile, David has moved on beautifully. Through mutual friends, I hear he's dating a lovely teacher who's never been married and apparently thinks his predictable nature is sweet rather than suffocating. 2 years later, I'm alone most nights, wondering if the excitement I chose was worth losing the stability I had. Marcus gave me 8 months of feeling desired, but cost me marriage, financial security, and my reputation. The irony isn't lost on me. I left someone emotionally unavailable for someone even more unavailable. I just couldn't see it then. At least David was honest about his limitations. Marcus made promises he never intended to keep. Maybe I made terrible choices. Maybe I should have worked harder on my marriage first. But I refuse to pretend settling for emotional emptiness is noble just because it's socially acceptable. I'm still figuring out what comes next, but I've learned that passion without genuine commitment is just elaborate fantasy. And sometimes the price of that fantasy is higher than you ever imagined.